Hi guys, this is part two of talking about IBD. So in the first part, I talked about why I talk about IBD and the importance of awareness. So in this video, I want to address how to talk to loved ones and people in your life about your illness and also about your ostomy. So I'm going to address illness first because that's a little bit easier, I believe. So talking about having IBD is not an easy thing to do. I mean, when you're talking about IBD, you're essentially talking about bowel movements and about excruciating pain and about all these immunosuppressants, and you start to feel like you're really depressing the person you're talking to. So how do I approach talking to people about my IBD? I'm very open about it, as you can probably tell. Generally, I let it happen on its own. Eating with people is the best way to bring up the idea of having your illness. So when I eat with people, I don't eat raw vegetables. They bother me. I don't eat fruit with skins. I don't eat nuts or seeds. And I don't eat, what else don't I eat? Is that all? Yeah, I guess that's all. No raw vegetables. Did I say that? I did. So, usually it comes up like, oh, why can't you eat this? Are you allergic to all nuts and seeds and raw vegetables? And I say, no, I have a stomach condition. And if they question further, well, sometimes it depends on the person, and you have to be a judge of character. You really do. Sometimes they'll say, oh, it's a stomach condition, and sometimes they'll say, oh, well, I don't have my large intestine anymore. And they'll be like, why? And I'll be like, oh, I had an autoimmune disease called ulcerative colitis, and essentially your own immune system attacks your large intestine, or if you say Crohn's, then essentially it attacks whatever parts of you it attacks. It can attack anywhere from here to here, you know. But so that's a really good way to address it, and I found two different things when I address it that way. So if someone starts to feel uncomfortable, they'll stop asking questions and the discussion will be over. And then you can go about your day and make sure to still be positive and, not make that person uncomfortable. But I found that the people that are really, really close with me or that I'm getting close with will ask tons of questions, and it's amazing. I love when people ask questions about it because, one, I get to talk about it and bring awareness, but two, because it really makes me feel comfortable with that person, and I'll always put a positive spin on it. Always, always, always. Even if you are having a really bad day, people sometimes like to be ignorant to pain. Not because they're jerks and want to be, but because it's uncomfortable thinking that people you care about are going through something that is painful and difficult. So I always try to put a positive spin on it, but eating with people is like the best way to bring it up. If I'm not eating with people, and I feel like it's essential in our friendship or our relationship to tell them about my disease, um, I don't really ever have that need, but if I do, then I guess what I would do is just be honest about it. Be open and honest, but always with a positive spin. So I want to tell you this because you're really getting close to me, and I'm a little bit more high maintenance than I give off. So I have this thing that I have to take care of myself. It's an autoimmune disease, blah, 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 blah. Just go into talking about it. I always kind of make jokes about it because I don't want people to be super uncomfortable. Telling people about my ostomy is a little bit different. I don't tell everyone about my ostomy. Sometimes I put pictures up on my Facebook, like my personal Facebook, so I'm sure everyone that looks at my Facebook knows. But when we're talking like significant others or roommates, I actually haven't told my roommates here just because there's not been like a need to. So far, we share just a bathroom, and I just lock the door and go to the bathroom. But yeah, so for roommates, I did have roommates in Tennessee when I went on a community college trip, and I just sat them down and said, can we have a roommate meeting? And they're like, oh, yeah, sure. And they were all really sweet girls, and so I said, okay, so I don't want you to be uncomfortable because I'll be changing in front of you. I have this thing, it's called an ostomy. I don't have a large intestine anymore, so what they had to do was take my small intestine and pull it outside of my body. There's a bag, it poops into the bag. And they were totally fine with it. I mean, because I make it not seem like a big deal, so it's not a big deal to them. So that's how I told my roommates how to tell significant others. Um, I so this is uncomfortable to like talk about, but I will definitely talk about if you guys want to know about relationships or any sort of physical stuff with an ostomy. I can definitely make a video about that. Just request it. Um, so how I tell people that I'm interested in before anything happens, I sit them down and I'm like, I really like you. I could see this going further, and there's something that I want you to know about. And I always give them an escape. And I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but this is what I do. So, so I sit down and I say, so there's something I really want to tell you about before you find out on your own. And by this time, they've known about my illness, definitely, for sure. I say, well, you know how I told you I have that autoimmune disease? They had to take my large intestine out. And I have something called an ostomy, and it's a bag on the outside of my body, and my small intestine poops into it. And I say, if this makes you uncomfortable, do not feel like a jerk. I will not hold it against you if you run away right now. And it's never happened before, so not like I'm going and pouring it up. That sounds terrible, but um, so and then I cried. I cried because I was scared. I was scared of telling someone that I was really interested in about my ostomy. But the guy that I'm with is really, really wonderful about it. He is just as comfortable with it as I am, which is really weird. Like, I sometimes like play with it. Like, I play with my bag and whatever, and he's like starting to do the same thing. And it's ridiculous. But I always have to ask him, you know what's in there, right? He's like, yeah, you're poopy. I'm like, okay. But so if you find the right person, it's really not as terrifying as, I mean, don't get me wrong, I was terrified, but it's not as bad or as big of a deal as you think it would be. So I guess that those are the ways that I really have found to be successful in telling people about IBD for sure. And then ostomy, I'm still kind of working on my formula for bringing it up and telling people, but definitely, I mean, I tell people that I think need to know. Um, and you guys, I talk about it a lot, and I'll basically tell anyone who asks, like, any further questions. Some people are like, wow, well, without a large intestine, they know enough about anatomy to be like, well, how does that work? And then I'll be like, oh, well, I have an ostomy, blah, 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 and I'll explain it. But I guess the biggest thing is before you talk about it with people, you need to be comfortable with it yourself, because we don't want there to be a negative connotation that goes along with having an ostomy or having IBD. I mean, yes, IBD sucks. We need to make sure that people know that IBD is a terrible thing we need to cure, but that an ostomy is not a terrible thing to have, and that you're comfortable with it, and they should be comfortable with it, and that your life is so much better with an ostomy if it is. I just think that you really need to be comfortable with it first, and that can take time, totally. And that way, I don't know if I can really talk about that, because I thought it was really cool when I got it. I was like, oh, that's my small intestine. Can I touch it? Like, I don't know. So, anyways, now I'm rambling. I should end this soon. I just think that that is the biggest thing, is to be comfortable with it first before you start talking about it. And the right people will support you. So I think that's it for this video, for part 2 of communication. So if you guys have any questions or video requests, or if you want to take me up on the relationship video or anything like that, just Facebook me at www.facebook.com/ostomystory, or you can message me on YouTube, or you can leave a comment below, and I will get back to you soon. So I hope this was helpful or a little bit interesting or something, and I hope you guys are feeling super well and continue to get better. I will talk to you soon. Bye.